All right. Well, welcome to the Dice Tower. I'm Tom Bassel, and this is Melody. And we're... What?
My name is Holly.
Oh, Holly, my number 3 child. She's here helping me out today, talking about games. Are you glad to be here?
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about some games. We're talking about my top 100 games, but now we're into my top 50 games. So let's start with number 50 today, and that is Robo Rally. Now, Robo Rally, I have this older German version, and I have the new Avalon Hill version. And I really only need one box, but I've kept both boxes because I have a few pieces in one. But Robo Rally has several boards which show a large factory and can be rotated to make all different setups. And each player is going to be playing a robot. Here's a few of the robots. They're little plastic pieces, like them. Little robots that you can move around in the factory, and you're using cards that will tell you what you can do. This card tells you can turn. This one also lets you turn, but there's also cards that let you go forward 2 spaces. And the robots move based on the cards that you have programmed. And I enjoy that quite a bit. It's very logical. But when you play with 8 players, there's a lot of back and forth. You put the robots down, and you'll move forward 1 space, and someone else will move and push you off your path that you have programmed out so nice and neatly, and chaos erupts. The game actually can handle 8 players, and if you use a small setup, I very much recommend it, just 2 boards and a small track that crisscrosses, it can be a lot of fun. It's a little too chaotic for some people, which seems odd considering how logical it is programming them. But I just have a lot of fun doing that. I have a lot of fun playing with the robots and moving them around. There's lasers, there's conveyor belts in the factory, there's holes you can fall into, there's things that turn sideways. It's just a tremendously fun time. It's been years, many years since I bought this game a long time ago, and I still enjoy it just as much as today. So my number 50 game is Robo Rally. Moving that one aside, let's look at number 49 now, which is Runebound. Now, Runebound is an adventure game, a fantasy adventure game. Now, there's a game I like better, which is Descent, which is a dungeon quest, but this is more of an adventure quest. As you can look at the big map here, it shows a fantasy land, and you are moving around this fantasy land, fighting monsters and baddies and such, and you have your plastic piece. There's all kinds of weapons and enemies and allies that you can find, and lots of different components, hit points, and you work your character and grow up. The combat is very entertaining to some degree. There's melee and ranged and magic, and they use a 20-sided die for combat, something I like using quite a bit. And the whole thing fits together really well. It's a little long. If you play with 6 players, it's just going to take an interminably long time. Just players, you're waiting a long time before your turn comes back, because there's not a lot of interaction between players. You can fight each other, but that really just doesn't cut it. There's not a whole lot of benefits to be made there. So I really enjoy playing the game with 2 or 3 people. It's a fun fantasy game. You watch what the other people do. There's a lot of flavor text on the cards. And there is really, I think, maybe more expansions for this game than almost any other game in existence. There's just tons of these little decks of cards you can buy that give you more monsters, that give you more treasures, that give you more weapons and allies, and even ways that there's big box expansions which give you new maps. I don't have any of those, and I have just a pile of the small expansions, and there's just a ton of stuff in this box, and it really provides a good time. I have a lot of fun playing it. So my number 49 game is Runebound. Number 48 is a racing game. One I enjoy quite a bit, and that's Ave Caesar. This is the older version. There's a newer, smaller box out, but the gameplay is identical. Players are racing around a racetrack. And yes, I know before I said that I only had one sports game. I forgot racing games were sports. But here you can see the big Roman racetrack that you're racing your chariots around. And the chariot pieces are really excellently, they're these plastic chariot pieces. Each player gets one of these. They get a deck of cards, and they get a coin. The deck of cards determines your movement. There's numbers on these cards from 1 to 6. Players are playing a card, they move their chariot. However, if there's someone in front of you, then the track is narrow enough that this is going to happen all the time, you can't move. So there's a lot of vicious blocking in this game. Get in front of that person, when their turn comes by, they can't move. And it's just a lot of fun blocking other people. And since the game is a 3-lap race, between the first and second or the second and third lap, each player must stop. It's a coin. Each player... Oh, okay. There you go. Each player must stop and throw their coin to the Caesar. And you do that, and you keep going your race. If you don't throw a coin to Caesar, then you die. So you have to do it. But if you play with anyone who loves this game, then you have to stand up on a chair and you have to scream at the top of your lungs, Ave Caesar, and throw the coin into the box, even if it's in the middle of a crowded convention center. A total blast, and I've had people just refuse to do it, and then we say their characters die. But it really adds to the fun, to the spirit of the game. Chariot racing, back and forth. This is Ben-Hur in a game. It's, you know, I've seen other ones where you have to move the chariot to certain locations and measure how far you can move and stuff. This is just fun. Play the card, block other players, throw your coin, laugh when you're doing well, cry when you're not. The whole experience is a lot of fun. So if you get a chance, I really recommend Ave Caesar. My number 47 game is one you may not have heard of before, Glory to Rome. It's a small game. As you can see, it comes in a plastic box here. It's a bunch of decks of cards. If you've ever heard of the very popular game Race for the Galaxy or San Juan, Glory to Rome is very similar to those in that the cards in this game have multiple uses. This card, for example, is one that allows a player to play in the Senate. This is a sewer. It's a building, but it's also a certain kind of good. It's worth points at the end of the game. Cards have multiple uses, and players are essentially trying to build Rome, to build different buildings. And when you build buildings, they give you special abilities, which helps you affect other things. Players are playing cards, which allow them to do different roles. And there's interaction here. You can mess other players up. You can steal resources that you want. And all this really combines into a very interesting game. It's a little unpolished, maybe, but that adds to its charm. The buildings are, you know, some buildings are much better than others, but that's exciting. You try and get the best buildings, the ones that are worth the most points, so that at the end of the game you win. And it's very thematic. All the buildings feel like they should. The artwork is cartoony, which I don't mind. It's a lot of back and forth, and every time I play, I try a different strategy, and there's so much going on in the game that just makes it a lot of fun. So, Glory to Rome. And finally, number 46 is a game in which I got rid of the box. I first got this game, Beyond Balderdash, way back when I first started getting board games. And since I was living in Korea, I only had one bookshelf at the time. Obviously, that's changed. I got rid of the box. I said, I just need the cards. And really, that is all you need for this game. Beyond Balderdash is the second coming, to some degree, of Balderdash. Balderdash had a card, and for example, here the card is sniding. There's a word on the card, sniding, and one person would read that to everybody else. Everybody else would write down a fake definition for sniding, while the real person would write down the real definition, which is curved wooden planks in the frame of a ship. The person reading mixes up all the definitions, reads them. Everybody is trying to guess which definition is correct. You guess the correct definition, you get points. If people guess your definition, they get points also. And so the whole thing just really works out well. Let's put this over here, okay? People like to look at your face. Isn't she pretty? Anyway. So, but this Beyond Balderdash adds more to that. It adds people. What do these people do? It adds initials. What does RCI stand for? It adds movies that no one's ever heard of, and you have to write a short plot summary. And it's silliness. The game just evolves into silliness. It evolves into just total chaos and fun. And it was one of my favorite party games. It still is. Now, there's a few that I like better, and you'll hear about those soon. But Beyond Balderdash, we're talking absolute tremendous fun and hilarity. I played it so many times, so many different ways, with so many people. I've been playing this for years. It was the first game I ever played with my wife, and I remember it fondly for that reason. But it's just fun. Writing stupid definitions happens occasionally in groups, and the whole thing devolves into who can write the funniest stuff. But I'm telling you, you'll laugh your head off. Beyond Balderdash is a tremendous game. There we go. 46 to 50. 45 games to go. Do they get better? Do they get better? I think they do. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and this is my beautiful co-host, Holly Vasel. We'll see you guys next time.